Hello and welcome to Moneylife. This is Sucheta Dalal. This week, naturally, we are talking about Brightcom Group. Brightcom Group Ltd. Yeah, group is part of the company name. We're going to just call it Brightcom. Why are we talking about it? Two reasons. One, the Securities and Exchange Board of India has come up with an unprecedented second interim order. In fact, in many ways, it's a third order against this group, which has been indulging by SEBI's reckoning in fraud and manipulation, which is so egregious that I personally believe, after tracking such companies for over 30 years, that this is going to be another of those case studies of fraud like Satyam Computers and DSQ software, because it has all the ingredients in it. Now, was it a surprise to people in the market? Surprisingly, no. Anybody who is discerning, anybody who has been paying attention to serious analysts would have had access to any amount of detailed analytical articles that were put in the public domain starting at least from February 2022. So time enough. But like I said, this is a case study because there's a new element to it, which is Brightcom Group itself calls itself a digital marketing expert. And it seems to have used its talents beautifully. Apart from like Satyam and DSQ, there was Ketan Parekh manipulating the stocks. In this case, whatever happened to the stock price, and it went up 2,500% in 2021, all of this was playing out in the digital media. So whether it's Telegram groups with thousands of people, WhatsApp groups, and what some people even call fan clubs of Brightcom. So even after the second order, huge amount of trading was taking place because obviously there are still a set of people who seem to think maybe it'll bounce back, maybe it's worth buying at this price. Let's take it step by step and talk about what happens. Okay. So obviously there are social media gangs who operated in this stock, which is why any amount of writing that had been done on it made no difference to people. They were still on it. And we are actually living in a time where it seems to be so easy to convince newbie traders, most of them having come into the market after COVID, that any wrongdoing on the part of anybody, howsoever egregious, doesn't matter that a joint parliamentary committee was set up to examine the scam, they decide today that it's all mere technicality, or someone is against them, somebody hates them, and that is why there is negative writing. So they do not act on it, or they continue to live in hope. It's a new world and it's a new kind of trader. And honestly, there is very little sympathy for them. But the story is worth listening to for anybody because you can learn from it. You can learn to look for red flags and signs. Okay. So now let's look at the Brightcom Group. There are so many red flags. Anyone who's a discerning investor, a huge red flag is when a company starts repeatedly changing its name. You go back, yes, hindsight is 2020, but go back and look at the worst ones and you will find this coming up all the time. So here, frequent name changes going back to 1999 when it started. And remember, the big bubble and price rigging was 2021. So they were around at that time, not participating, too small, non-entities. Repeated change in business profile, as well as its core, essential core business with all kinds of acquisitions, many of them abroad. So not everyone knows what they were, how they were. Then a stunning, unexplained 2,500% price rise, which I talked about earlier in 2021. And then a series of dodgy disclosures and strange accounting practices, which has been unraveled by various people, starting with SEBI, starting with a formal complaint that was made to SEBI that apparently triggered all this. Now, the stock price is down 75%. But like I said, there are obviously still gangs of people who seem to think the stock is good because Brightcom continues to be part of NSE 500. And even after the SEBI action, there were robust trading volumes. And those of you who trade would know that this is not a norm. Okay, so over 1.91 crore shares were traded at the price of 24 on 22nd August, just the day, that evening that the SEBI order came out. And well after it was clear that the company is completely shady, the stock has now collapsed to around 9 and has been through a series of continuous lower circuits. But it had shot up 3 times in just the 7 weeks between May and June 2023. This cannot happen on fundamentals. This happens because someone is pushing it. Now, let's come to what happened on 22nd August, just 2 days ago, with the unprecedented second interim order. What was the headline news in the second interim order? Like I said, no one's surprised. Wrongdoing, bad accounts, whatever. Yes, SEBI has outlined in great detail over 73 pages how bad it was. It's quite stunning. Those of you who like to get into these things, please go and look at the SEBI order. We put a link here. They have even got a diagram about how circular trading happened, how preferential allotment was cooked up. Now, let's look at what was the headline in the second interim order. It was that Shankar Sharma, founder of First Global, openly associated with this stock, who's a big invitee on all the mainstream media channels to talk about investments and what to do. He is noticing number 25 and got a preferential allotment of 1.5 crore and also has not paid. Keep that in mind. We're going to come back to it a little later. First, let's go to the red flags and the background. So why should you have been alert about this company? And if you were a value investor, why would you not touch it? Because it was set up in 1999 as an e-greetings company called USA Greetings 2000. Later, after an acquisition, it became Lanco Global Systems Limited. It was Lanco Global until 2008. Then it changed its name and shortened it. You know why 2008? Because Lanco was suddenly not such a great name, I guess. So it became LGS Global Limited. After remaining LGS Global, in 2012, it acquired a company called Vibrant Digital, Vibrant Digital Limited, and it changed its name to Vibrant Digital. Then it called itself Lycos Internet Limited in 2014. More acquisitions, more changes. Now it's an internet company in 2014. This time it got listed on the exchange. So the listing happened in 2015. Just 3 years, in September 2018, it decided it needs a name change again. And this time it became Brightcom Group Ltd. Now, in this entire period, it made a series of global acquisitions. Many of these entities continue to have separate websites, some of them saying LGS Global Inc. or Lanco Inc. We don't know what the status is, and I'm hoping that SEBI, in its later detailed report, will come up with it because that's the job of the regulator. So if you Google today, those websites exist. So we don't know what is closed. We don't know what is the value they bring in and what is the relationship that they continue with separate names. Now, the latest order. What has SEBI said? SEBI has stopped and restrained Suresh Kumar Reddy, who's the chairman and managing director, and Narayan Raju, chief financial officer, from holding any directorships in any company until further notice. They, along with Shankar Sharma and 22 other individuals and entities, have been told that they cannot dispose of their shares until further notice. They will have to state. This is a 73-page order which has deep dived into this preferential allotment. Why is it an interim order? Because there are 82 allottees and it has looked at only 22 of them. So a detailed investigation continues, and you can understand why it's taking so long, because in each case, in each entity, SEBI has pointed out how money moved through various bank accounts to create layering transactions, to create circular transactions, and then the money was round-tripped through multiple entities. Why was it round-tripped? A, sometimes to provide application money to these entities to apply for the preferential allotment, sometimes using them as fronts to make the application and then returning the application money so that their actual involvement is absolutely zero and they've got a full refund. Now, all this time, in line with SEBI rules, after the allotment was over, Brightcom said, we've got all the money, full payment for the shares. That's why the allotments were made, warrants converted. and it issued a series of what SEBI calls forged and fabricated bank statements to SEBI to claim paisa aa gaya, we've got the money, and now the shares are all ours. So this was a completely false claim, which SEBI got into by asking each of these banks to give statements and then match them. And they discovered that most of them had either not paid anything or paid partly, or that things weren't clear. So even Shankar Sharma, like I said, had not paid for the entire shareholding. He's made a part payment. An interesting fact was that the applicants included 4 limited liability partnership companies. One was Aradhana Comsols, one was Kalpana Comsols, one was Sarita Comsols, and one was Shalini Sales. We don't know who these women are, but these LLPs made an application, got an allotment. After that, the chairman and MD buys into each of these and becomes a partner. And money for all of this was part of the circular deals that SEBI has unearthed and outlined, which, if you're interested, go and read the detailed order. What happens by doing this? Since they were first not promoter companies, once the promoter joins them, they decided they are now part of the promoter group, which means that the lock-in period that was applicable was evaded with this nice trick, because they were not promoter companies when the preferential allotment happened. Then the promoter buys into them. They're suddenly promoter companies, but without the lock-in period. So this is the extent of trickery that SEBI has unearthed this time. And this is how they circumvent. Lesson for those who want to learn tricks, what to do or what to watch out for not to do. Now, hundreds of crores, 500 to 600 crores was given out as loans to subsidiaries. SEBI says a lot of it was siphoned off or remains unaccounted. Some of it went as advances to subsidiaries. Some of it was falsely claimed. Some of it came back. Some of it was circulated around for application money, refunds, what have you. All of it documented. Then it loaned money for purchase of shares. That act itself is a violation of Section 67 of the Companies Act. Now let's come to the auditors. None of this happens without the active collusion of auditors, and our auditors don't seem to learn any lessons. You look at Pricewaterhouse, you look at Satyam, you look at Cafe Coffee Day, the same story over and over again. Here, the two auditors, Messrs. P. Murli and Company and Messrs. PCN and Associates, they, apart from failing to report outright fraud, seem to have colluded in the fabrication of information and falsification of accounts. SEBI has asked them to dissociate from all group companies and subsidiaries, and there are plenty of them. And bigger discovery, the same auditors have sister concerns, connected concerns where they are connected, who acts as the registrar and transfer agent. So here's a company called Aarti Consultants Private Limited, which is an associate of the auditors, completing a nice incestuous little equation where they are getting together with the promoter, unconcerned with the fact that they have their own, Institute of Chartered Accountants, then the NFRA, but obviously it's so brazen that they think that they can get away with this. Details, like I said, are all in the order. Now, let's come back to when investors got alerted. Somebody filed a complaint with SEBI, and SEBI thought there was reasonable ground on 16 September 2021 to write to Brightcom and say you will conduct a forensic audit, which openly said to verify manipulation of books of accounts of the company and its subsidiaries, misrepresentation, including consolidated financial and business operation, wrongful diversion or siphoning of money from the company by the promoters, directors, and key managerial personnel. This kind of letter is supposed to be informed to the stock exchanges within 12 hours. What did the company do? Sat over it for nearly 6 months, made all kinds of statements in the meanwhile. Stock was doing very well. As you know, the big growth was in 2021, and released this to the exchanges in February 2022, 6 months later. I mean, this is how much companies which are in the NSE 500 care about SEBI rules, or they thought they'll get away, or they play for the short term and are willing to take the consequences. We don't know, because this is all now out in the open. If you want to read detailed articles, we have written about them. Now let's jump to 13th April 2023. That's when SEBI came up with its first interim order. It barred the promoters and senior management from selling shares after discovering a massive accounting fraud, already discovered on 13th April. But then in June 2023, it decided that this is not enough. It slapped a 40 lakh fine on 6 of them, including the Brightcom Group and its promoters, in an insider trading matter. After that, you have the second interim order where they expanded it. And I think this time, if you ask me, the headline is notice number 25. In fact, SEBI's whole-time director, Ashwini Bhatia, in his order says, the fact that the promoters gave themselves preferential allotment of shares, which led them to increase their shareholding from 3.51% to 18.47% after the start of the SEBI investigation, speaks volumes of their intent to mislead and their brazen approach towards self-enrichment. I would add another line, their brazen disregard for any regulation or any law of the land. Okay, now let's come to what SEBI has to say about Notice 25. Shankar Sharma, they say, has paid only 39.98 crores out of the 56.66 crores that he was supposed to pay for preferential allotment of 1.5 crore shares on conversion of warrants. Here too, 14 crores out of 39.98, nearly 40 crores, is not verified since Mr. Sharma has provided SEBI with documents that are redacted, blacked out, even the name of the bank and all kinds of details. So unless SEBI actually gets documents, they say we can't verify 14 crores. SEBI has actually put a chart in its order of 10 occasions when it emailed him or sent him summons asking him to answer questions and provide information or appear before SEBI, and the kind of replies that they have got from him. Given this background, how much ever you're carried away, only the naive would believe and continue to have faith in a company, continue to trade in the stock after revelations, not now, but February 2022. So if you have lost money, don't look around for who to blame and don't look around for saying, why didn't X or Y tell you? You're supposed to track your stocks. You're supposed to look at disclosures. And if you are a value investor and if you're not trading for the short term, hoping somebody will push it up or down, then you're supposed to take care. And if you're a short-term trader, then bad luck for you if you were caught by surprise. It's part of the game because it's no less than gambling. If you agree with this, please send it to people so that others can learn lessons. This is a case study where the writing and the red flags were on the wall for 1 year. Plenty of chances. Of course, if you bought it at the huge high, and the high was not so much, it's a 2 rupee share, which was at 100. It was still at 25. Plenty of opportunities, of course, at a 75% loss. So I'm not talking about people who bought at peak. But if you continue to hold, you have only yourself to blame and hopefully a lesson to learn from here. Thank you for listening. Please share this video and subscribe.